All right, we are at the end of this play, and I do hope you guys have enjoyed it. It is um, one of the most iconic plays in American literature, so at least you've been exposed to that, whether or not you enjoyed it. Hopefully that you did. Anyway, I guess the question that I want to leave you guys with is who wins in this play? You know, we've talked a lot about power relationships, about the battle between um, Blanche and the imagination, the worldview she represents, and Stanley and the realism and the practicality that he represents, and Stella sort of being the prize to be won. Um, and so I want to kind of bring us full circle and maybe cross our T's and dot our I's here and just offer some suggestions about what may be going on hegemonically in this particular play. First off, let's just recap scene 11 a little bit. So we see that the scene starts, if we look at the stage directions, it says it is some weeks later, and Stella is packing Blanche's things. So remember from scene 10, the plan before the rape was that Blanche was going to leave very quickly on Tuesday. Well, clearly some Tuesdays have gone by. So, you know, is she completely distraught? What is her mental state here? I guess the question is, has she completely lost touch with reality? Has she experienced a mental break because of the trauma of the rape? I think that argument can be made. Just a couple of places in this scene where we see that she is having some mental break with reality. One is when Stella makes the comment to Eunice, I just told her that we'd made arrangements for her to rest in the country, and she's got it mixed in her mind with Shep Huntley. So again, you know, they've made plans for her, and what they've made plans for is to actually put her in the state mental institution. And again, we get this in some stage directions. A doctor and a matron, which is just a nurse here, have appeared around the corner of the building and climbed the steps to the porch. The gravity of their profession is exaggerated. The unmistakable aura of the state institution with its cynical detachment. So just to explain what state mental institutions were like, in 1947, this was not a place you want to be. There was still much experimentation going on with mental health. Lobotomies were not uncommon to solve mental health problems. Neither were electric shock therapy, different than the regulated precision electroshock therapy that people receive today for deep, deep clinical depression. But all of this was in its infancy. And so very, very sick people with problems that were only beginning to be understood were in state mental institutions. So it wasn't like what you might think of today when someone who has a mental health issue may need to go, you know, for example, to a therapeutic boarding school for anxiety. This is not what this would have been. Think more along the lines of prison with people with severe mental illness that no one really knew what to do with, and they were trying all sorts of things. So not a good place that they were sending her to. And so you do get that indication there that, you know, they are going to send her off. So clearly maybe she's had a tough go of it and a complete mental break. So we also understand that too when the doctor comes in to fetch her, and she says, you are not the gentleman I was expecting, because right, she expected Shep Huntley. And so she runs back into the room, And when she gets into the bedroom, we get those lurid reflections appear on the walls in odd, sinuous shapes. And so that same lurid reflections that surfaced in the previous scenes to directly connect with her mental state of mind, that she was slipping here. And then she seizes the back of the chair, and the nurse goes in and has a difficult time getting her out. In fact, really won't, and asks if she needs to put her in a straitjacket. And then the doctor says no, that's not necessary. And he is able to basically charm her into coming out, making her feel safe, making her feel secure. And so we get, and I guess I should have rearranged these quotes, we get this very iconic last words from Blanche, and you can see that in the clip, in the video clip below the lecture as well. Whoever you are, I have always depended on the kindness of strangers. And so this cuts a lot of different ways. One, it shows her dependence, and it shows the fact that she has had to depend on strangers, not her family. So this is sort of a blow to Stella to some degree. And we know that that does upset Stella as they leave, as she screams, Blanche, Blanche, Blanche. So, you know, a lot going on here with these last words that we hear from Blanche Dubois. And then with Stella's comment to Eunice earlier in the scene, I couldn't believe her story and go on living with Stanley. So in other words, I couldn't believe her that she was raped by my husband and continue to live with him. Of course not. And Eunice remarks to this, don't ever believe it. Life has got to go on. No matter what happens, you've got to keep on going. So yeah, so that becomes so problematic on so many levels, right? Because it raises the question, okay, well, what options does Stella have but to do this? Well, you know, what were her options in the world as a woman with a young child in 1947? Not many. So again, we're seeing many cultural issues at stake here, whether it is the position of women in the culture, whether it was this sense of controlling something that is a little different, that it can't be understood, like Blanche and her imagination and her maybe mental, you know, walking right there on the edge of insanity and insanity in life. So I guess it sort of takes us to this question of who wins. And, you know, that's something I want you guys to ponder. My thoughts are that clearly at the end that Blanche is contained. She's controlled. I mean, heaven forbid she's sent to the mental institution. So she is shut down. So all that she represents is shut down. Whether you want to see that as the imagination, is that fantasy versus reality, if you want to see that specifically as the female imagination, that is not understood by a male-dominated culture. Whatever you think she represents in this play, it is silenced. Her worldview, whatever she represents, is clearly silenced and shut down. And Stanley wins. He gets what he wants, which is Stella, which is the way things used to be, which is a life based on realism, not on magic. We could read this a little bit as social Darwinism, in the sense that only the strong survive in society, and that society is constructed to encourage certain values over others. So I just want you to continue to ponder for yourself who you think wins in this play.